Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade and today I am doing my top 10 fantasy books of the decade. So it's pretty late in January when I'm filming this, but I don't really care. I want to do it and I didn't really want to do it earlier and now I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. I also have another top 10 book, which will be like the top 10 contemporary books of the decade. And this is all my opinion. And most of them are on this list because of the deep emotional ties that they have with me. So I'm very excited to talk about them. I just want to go on a quick rant real quick. And that's just about, I'm mad. I filmed my December wrap-up because I read 17 books in December, and I thought that would be exciting to share with people, to talk about the fact that I read 17 books. Please don't bark, Belle. My cat was behind me. Hello, Nana. She was joining me for this. But, I have this problem. I bought the iPhone 11 specifically so I could get better video quality. And it doesn't let me, like, hook it into the computer with a USB, allow my computer, trust the computer, and then to drag files onto my computer. It doesn't work. So I had to sync my phone and computer. I had to buy extra gigabyte space on my phone because I didn't have enough, because I had to wait until the videos were on my phone and then would get uploaded to my computer. But I need to learn to start stopping and then filming again, because my video was 25 minutes for my wrap-up, and it just never showed up on my computer. Still, it's been a month now, and it still hasn't shown up, so it's never going to. And that's really upsetting, because I wanted to share the fact that I'd read so many books and be proud of myself, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. But now, let's continue to the video. That's just a quick rant of a video I was really excited about that didn't come out, so. But we are going to start from the bottom of my list. I ordered them too. So this is number 10 on my 10 favorite fantasy books of all time. So I had to pick books that were important to my reading development and ones that I just overall loved. So there's like a couple overall loved and some that are important to my reading development. And number 10 is Hera Fire by Sarah J. Maas. This series was a pretty important series for me when I first read it, because it's when I first started getting really into reading and booktube that I started this series. And I really loved, okay, it's a tie between the second and third book, because I remember reading the second book. I remember ignoring my family. It was a spring day, there was snow everywhere, but it was warm, so warm, and I was reading on the porch, and my family just left, didn't even come find me because they were letting me read because I was crying earlier. And then I remember being at my ex-boyfriend's house and crying as I finished the second book. But I went with the third one for a monumental, wonderful book, because I just loved everything about it. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people think this is the weakest book in the series, and it was my favorite. But I loved the introduction of Rowan, at least when I read it. Is that even his name? Yes, I did it. I loved her training to actually use her powers, because that's part of the book that series that we hadn't really come across yet, and the whole introduction of magic and how it's in other places of the world, and there's this all-powerful goddess lady. It's kind of crazy, you know? So I do enjoy those things, and I do love this book series. I have to read Empire of Storms in the last book still, but I low-key want to do a reread. I think that would be kind of fun to do a reread of the series. Love it. If you don't know what Throne of Glass is about, it's about this girl who's in jail, and she's going to be there till she dies, until she has the opportunity to leave and fight in a competition to be the king's next assassin. And that it moves on from there, and there's a lot more. The next book was just the most fun book series I've ever read in my entire life, and that was Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carninger. I think this is the most fun book ever. It's a steampunk spy school novel. So the main character gets sent to the school to learn etiquette because she's just very not how you're supposed to act. She's always getting in trouble. turns out that the school she's sent to is a school for female spies where they get taught etiquette and espionage. And it moves on from there. There's vampires and werewolves. There's a rival boys' school where they learn to be evil. Like evil scientists. There's so many good characters. Like, all the characters are very well developed, and it's just funny. And it's lighthearted and beautiful and important. And I think everyone needs to read this book. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. There's highwaymen. There's a lot of highwaymen involved. Which kind of sets off the subplot line. Okay. The next one we have is one that like went right to my heart when I read it. I knew it was going to be something that changed how I felt about reading. And that's Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. This is a middle grade, which is something I'm not used to reading, and I'm going to be reading more of. This is the most beautiful, interesting fantasy creation ever. I loved so many things. Like, I love how in Furthermore, every town had different rules and was completely different, not even close to being similar. I loved the relationship the two main characters had with each other. Like, they just were really, really good friends, and I thought that was kind of beautiful because that's not something you get to see a lot in books. Everything was so great. And this book is about a girl whose father went missing a couple years ago, and all she wants in the world is to get to go find him. She lives in a town where everyone has a magical power sort of thing, like a little quirk that lets them do small things. My dog is like walking around. And when you turn 12, you get to perform your quirk and for everyone. I'm saying quirk because of Mighty Hero Academia. I don't even remember what it's called. But, and then you can be given a quest of different levels of importance by the elders, and she wants hers to be to find her father. Well, this boy comes up to her the day before she's going to show off her power, and says he needs her to help complete his quest that he got. So she gets involved in his story, especially after like a disastrous event, like outcome of her showing off her power. And she goes to this world called Furthermore, where they overuse their magic in the world, and because of that, they run out of it. And the only way for them to get it is to eat people that have some. So there's cannibalism in a middle grade, and like that's fun too. And it's just, everything is just so fun. Oh my goodness. I actually think I listened to this on audiobook, so I've never read it. But I think I want to read it, especially when I opened a page and it was something like this. That makes me want to read the actual book, because I had no idea that it was like kind of fun looking. So I'm very excited. I love that book so much. The next book I have is, I think, the most monumental book I've ever read, and you'll understand why. That's The Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan, the fourth book to the Trials of Apollo. So, the reason this book, I think, is brilliant is because Rick Riordan has been writing in this world forever. I've loved every single one of his books. I think it's all, like, super great. But this book, and the previous one, but specifically this one, was a huge turning point in his writing where it got more adult, I feel like, and it had heavier topics than it ever had. And to see that with characters that you've grown up with, and to see them actually kind of feel like they're in danger for the first time in like a different way than it ever has been, was really wonderful. And it's not only that, he expanded so much into like this book specifically. Apollo starts to deal with his past and realizing all of the horrible things he did when he was a god. So, like, not only does it give you kind of, like, a different look at, like, seeing Apollo and how he is now and what he was and him coming to terms with it, like, that was really cool. It also talks about, like, kind of, like, abuse, because Zeus isn't a great dad, but also, like, Meg, her dad was awful, too, so it deals with abuse, it deals with death, and like grief and grieving and guilt, and it just deals with these heavy topics, but it's still a fun, light read. So like, it's somehow the most beautiful combination. But I should probably tell you what the series is about. This book series takes place after the Son of Neptune Lost Hero series, which takes place after the Percy Jackson series. And this is from Apollo's point of view. He is cast down out of Olympus and put into a mortal's body with no magical powers and sent on this quest to find and release the 5 oracles, because the oracles have been captured by an enemy and there's no communication between demigods and gods or anyone at all because of that. So he also, at the same time, when he got cast onto Earth, was put into this service of an 11-year-old girl, because part of his punishment is he has to serve someone, so he has to completely serve this 11-year-old girl. And so they also have kind of like a beautiful relationship that they develop too. And I just think that this book is straight up just beautiful. The relationships and the impacts, and just really delving into the impacts of things was so well done in this book. And I want to reread it, and I read it like a month ago. Like, that was a December book that I never got to talk about. The next book is one of the most fun, wonderfully written books I've ever read, and that is Gemini by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Good job, Jade. But this book is brilliant. Oh, let me pause my recording real quick, so, you know. But we have Gemini by Amy Kristoff and Jay Kaufman. Oh, wow. I just switched their names. I do that so often. It's not funny. This is the second book to the Illuminae series, which is a sci-fi novel about this planet that's a mining planet that the 2 main characters live on. And it is attacked, and everyone is basically killed except for large groups of people that get away on these 2 ships. And they are being chased down by the ship that, like, did the attacking of their planet. And they don't know why they were attacked. They have no idea what's going on. And so a big part of the book is trying to uncover things while other bad things are happening. Like, a disease breaks out on one of the ships that's, like, low-key terrifying. And there's, like, just a lot of technical problems. Like, the ship's in danger, too. It's told in a multimedia format, so, like, it's, like, looking at someone's reading about what they see in surveillance tapes. There's email conversations, like texting conversations sort of thing, and it's just really wonderful. And the second book is so amazing because it's like reading the best movie you've ever seen, because reading it felt like a movie. Not only is there this kick-butt main character who is the daughter of the captain on the ship. She spent her whole life training in different ways of fighting with her dad. Like, that was their bonding time. She has this super sexy British boyfriend. She has kind of this flirty thing with this drug dealer where she gets her drugs from, and he's the other main character, which not only is super cool because it's alien drugs. So, like, him and his family are, like, part of, they're, like, the drug empire sort of thing. Like, yeah. And they're, like, hidden on this ship, and this alien is how you make the drug, and it's really dangerous and creepy. And then the ship gets attacked, which actually relates to the first one beautifully, and, like, that was a really cool connection, just seeing how it relates and how they get involved. But these, like, 24 best mercenary people come to take over the ship, and the only 2 people not in the ballroom at the time, because they were supposed to be, is the main character girl and her drug dealer, because she was going to go pick up drugs from him. And so she misses everything that happens, and she's not captured with everyone else, and they kind of gotta figure out how they can stop everyone from being killed. And it's a great time. It's so good. I need to read the 3rd one so bad, but it's brilliant. Okay, next is like a childhood favorite. This was a book series that I read when I was, like, younger, high school, and I reread it like 6 or 7 times, like the whole series. It gets kind of less and less with each book, usually, when I reread. That's kind of how that happens. I don't reread the last ones as often. But that is Born at Midnight by C.C. Hunter. I think this book is literally just brilliant. This is about a girl who has something just unfortunate happen to her. It's like not even a big deal, but her mom like freaks out and thinks, because her parents are getting divorced, her mom freaks out when this thing happens and thinks that everything's gonna go bad and sends her to a summer camp for troubled teens when she straight up didn't do a single thing. So that was kind of funny, but she gets convinced by a therapist lady to send her to this camp. Well, when she gets to this camp, it turns out that this is actually a camp for supernaturals to learn how to control their power and be in the real world. She finds out she's supernatural. Had no idea before that. So there are vampires, werewolves, fairies, shapeshifters, and witches. The like 5 main supernatural groups. And so it's just like so much fun, like her trying to discover what she is, her making friends and relationships. And I want to read this right now. Okay, low key, I might pick this up after I'm done filming this video. I think I am actually. I love it. It's really just a fun, wonderful time, and I very much recommend it to anyone. I think the main plot of the first book is her kind of discovering who she is and meeting people, but also the camp is in danger of being shut down, so she kind of gets involved in that story and some crazy stuff happens, but that's for when you read it. The next book I have, this is really just an emotional attachment, and I hate the rest of the series but love the first book, and that's The Maze Runner by James Dasher. I loved this book as a younger person. It is brilliant. I still love the first book because like just nothing else is like this. Nothing else reminds me of The Maze Runner. No other book situation is the maze, in my opinion, like from what I've read. This is just so original and fun and like beautiful in a way. I think I just really loved the setting and like it's just a good time. But this is about this colony of boys that you just wake up, you're in a metal box with other supplies, and then you're inside of this huge maze. And there's safe zone, and then there's the maze where there's horrible creatures that will kill you, and it's awful. And they've made a community for themselves to survive. And, well, crazy stuff happens, my dude. If you don't know what The Maze Runner is about, like, that's your problem, I feel like. But it's just, like, a really important childhood book to me. And I do really, really like it, especially when the movie came out. And, the main character was played by Dylan O'Brien, who, like... Okay, the next book I have is honestly just a favorite of all times. And that's A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. That's the second book to the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I effing hate the first book. I, like, didn't like it when I first read it, and I wasn't going to continue, and then everyone on BookTube was talking about this book. I'm like, alright, I'll see what happens. And then I was like, like, throw out the first book, just have this book. It's so good. So, this book series is about a girl who ends up shooting and killing a wolf in the woods to feed her family. Turns out it was a fairy. There's this giant wall that protects the human world from the fairy world, which is really important because fairies are really evil and do twisted things to humans. She gets taken to the fairy world as punishment for killing this wolf by one of the, like, there's 8 areas of the fairy world, and they're ruled by, like, a prince, and so she's taken by the prince to this world, and it goes from there. But this book low-key throws the first book out the window and is like, this is what is happening now, and I'm like, yes, it is. Just read it. Honestly, this is a book that you should just read if you like YA fantasy books. Like, get through the first one. It's gonna be shitty, but just read this because it straight up is just a really fucking well-written book. I don't care if you like Sarah J. Maas or not. I understand if you don't or if you do, but this is just a really, really, really good book. And I also don't think this is technically YA. This is new adult because of the sexy scenes, but I want to reread that too. boy, I could reread this whole pile today, except I have so many things to do. The next book I have is The Tyrants Curse by Rick Riordan. I had to, of course, throw a Percy Jackson book in here, and this is the #2 spot, guys. By the way, #2 spot of my favorite books of all time. I wasn't updating you guys with that. When I originally planned this video, I was going to do the 20 books of the decade, and 4 of them, three of the books from the first series were in here, and then like 3 of the books from the Last Hero series were in here, and then like of course some of the books from the Trials of Apollo series, and I was like, my god. So I just picked like my favorite of the original Percy Jackson books, and I definitely think that's The Tyrants Curse, and that's just because it opens the world, I feel like, more, and like intertwines with other aspects of Greek mythology, and I really love that, and just the dynamic of it, and it's really great. I don't even know, like, because this is the 3rd book of a series, I don't really know how to describe it, but basically Percy Jackson's on a new quest for something, but he actually isn't even involved in the quest. He wasn't chosen to go, but he ends up following them and going anyways, because he thinks it's like he's called to this quest. And I low-key don't even remember what happens, like what they're doing in this book, like why they're doing this. Oh, I think, yeah, I remember a little bit more. It's great. It's my favorite series of all time. It has a really important place in my heart, and that kind of goes into the #1 book spot of all time. This is just like a, of course, sort of thing. I actually reread this book in December too, so it was also my wrap-up, so screw that video that never showed up, but that's The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. It has to be here. It honestly is just one of the best written books of all time, and I can say that because I have read it so many times when I was younger, and then I just reread it, and I thought it was even more brilliant. Like, I just reread this book, and I was, like, blown away by Katniss's character. I'm like, how does she think like that? Like, how does she always thinking about what's best for her in survival and not getting mixed up when everyone else does, and she's just, like, pure focus and, like, just amazing. And then I'm also like, wow, like, the people who want to take down the Capitol are so lucky. And, like, I think a lot of things happen in this book are lucky, but I think it's something that plausibly could happen. So they want to rebel, and then they're given this girl who not only volunteered for her sister, like, can survive. Like, they know she knows how to hunt and kill people, so they're already like, alright, this girl is gonna be seen as an underdog for people. And then, like, the arena's in a forest, right where she needs to be, because she knows how to live there. And it's just, like, the progression of things, I'm like, damn, they must feel so good about themselves. And then like, she teams up with PETA, and she does the thing with the berries, and they must have been like, oh my god, she's brilliant. Now people will think she hates the Capitol, and she's just over here trying to survive, and I just... I thought it was so good. And there's a new one coming out this year, and that just... don't even know what to think about that. But I'm gonna end this video here, because I'm too excited and it's probably too long, but those are my top 10 favorite books basically that I've ever read, because I was born in 1999, so the last decade was my reading years. Oh no, it wasn't. I'm dyslexic. Well, yeah, I didn't start reading until probably the start of the decade, 2010 to 2020, so yeah, that's basically the start of my reading life, and I want to know what your guys' like favorite fantasy books of all time are, because I want to read them if I haven't, or talk about them if I have. So let me know. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.